Part 32. Adorable Baby, The Miracle Doctor is So Awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 311. In addition to Chunming Hall, there are 4 residences in the villa, namely Changchun Residence, Angzia Residence, Shenkai Residence, and Yingdong Residence. They are named according to the 4 seasons, and the scenes inside also fit the seasons. Each residence has 3 courtyards, mostly named after flowers and plants. Changchun Residence includes Qinjui Yuan, plum blossoms in January, Bzun, willow branches in February, and Yangchun Yuan, peach blossoms in March. Angzia Residence includes Tianxiang Garden, peonies in April, Zhaifang Pavilion, gardenia in May, and Zik Mansion, lotus in June. In Shenkai Residence are Lanhui Garden, orchids in July, Julixiang, Osmanthus in August, and Chongyang Pavilion, chrysanthemums in September. Inside the winter residence are the frost-repelling garden, October hibiscus, Shuixian Garden, November narcissus, and Fiwa Garden, December snowflake. Each courtyard is independent, but harmonious in the overall environment. There are as few as 7 or 8 rooms inside, and as many as dozens of rooms. There are many places for people to rest. Outside these courtyards, there is the Yuhuang Pavilion, Qin Room. Outside the pavilion, there are purple bamboo forests and Phoenix Pond. Yunfu Guan, Tea Room. I pick Yunfu from the south of the Yangtze River, and I don't know if the clouds are falling. Yunfu is an elegant name for tea. Outside the museum, there are several tea trees transplanted from space by Shen Yazi. The tallest one is as high as the roof. The tea leaves are green and the tea fragrance is faint. It is truly a pleasure to make a cup of tea here and drink it while admiring the beautiful scenery outside. Yan Hailu, study, is taken from the vast sea of smoke. The walls are filled with books, and the calligraphy is like mountains and seas. There are also Wanju Pavilion, Tavern, Wuji Pavilion, Chess Room, Museum, Zhenbao Pavilion, etc. Lu Jingran was led by the maid to Yuhuang Pavilion. He was originally attracted by Shen Yazi's guqin and piano music. Now that we are free, how can we still endure? Entering the piano room, his eyes were glued to the pianos on the piano table. Me, can I try? He wiped his hands vigorously on his robe. The maid had already received Shen Yazi's instructions and replied with a smile, "Of course you can, as long as you don't break it." How dare he break it? Lu Jingran touched the harps one by one, and the one he liked the most was the Fenggui harp. The maid was expecting to hear the world-famous harp player play a piece of music, but she saw him falling asleep holding his harp in his arms. Maid. In the Wuji Pavilion, there are several sets of Catalpa Jade bureaus. The Catalpa Jade game consists of a Catalpa Jade chessboard and cold and warm jade chess pieces. For example, Catalpa Jade is produced from Jijhen Island in the East China Sea. It is similar to Catalpa wood. If it is carved into a chessboard, it will be bright and clean. There is also a hand-talking pool on the island. The pool is soaked in a kind of natural cold and warm jade, which is warm in winter and cool in summer. These jade stones are either all black or all white, without any flaws. With a little carving, they become natural chess pieces. For example, the Catalpa jade chessboard and the cold and warm jade chess pieces are naturally compatible, and they fit together to form a Catalpa jade game. Catalpa Jade Bureau has the effect of nourishing the body and calming the mind. If it is in contact with it all year round, the body's ailments will gradually be cured. Of course, this is just a legend, and no one can confirm whether it is true or not. After all, the Catalama Bureau has almost become a legend. Those who love chess all have a lifelong pursuit of getting a pair of Catalpa Jade games. And now, 5 chess sets appeared in the chess room at once. Lin Benji, the master of chess, could hardly believe his eyes, but the chess piece in front of him was warm, soft, and smooth. When he held it in his hand, he clearly felt that his mind was clear and he was speechless. So cool. What is this if not the legendary cold and warm jade? Zhu Shen really didn't lie to him. Lin Benji immediately sat down in front of the chessboard and said to Wen Daoming, the jade carving master who came with him, how about we talk about a game? Hearing Daoming shook his head like a rattle, I'm not looking for abuse. If you want to do it, just do it yourself. Just like Lin Benji is as good as an idiot when it comes to carving, Wen Daoming can only be crushed when it comes to chess. Unlike what Lin Benji saw was the Catalpa Jade Bureau, what he saw was its exquisite and impeccable carving technique. Yanhai Tower. Pei Hao, who is an expert in calligraphy and painting, came here. Looking at the majestic building in front of him, he was filled with excitement. The entire study covers an area of 7 or 8 acres, more than 2,000 square meters, and has 3 floors. The walls on the first floor are covered with calligraphy and paintings, all of which are authentic works by everyone from past dynasties. On the second and third floors, there are rows of bookshelves reaching to the ceiling. They are filled with countless books. All kinds of unique, ancient, and rare books are like carrots and cabbage on the streets here. The content covers history, travel notes, exercises, scripts, medical skills, scriptures, farming, etc. There is nothing you can't find unless you can't think of it. There is only one word to describe it: vast. When Pei Hao stepped into the study, the paintings and calligraphy hanging on the first floor gave him endless shock. In the museum, there are thick and majestic bronze tripods, gentle and delicate jade pig dragons, slim and slender beauty bottles, and mighty and ferocious statues of strange animals. Collect everyone. Songduan stood in front of a sky-blue porcelain vase, with tears in his eyes. The porcelain in front of you is as green as the sky, as bright as a mirror, as thin as paper, and its surface is bright and clear with fine lines. Isn't this the woodkill that was recorded in ancient books but has never been handed down? On the other side, Gu Swiding had followed Shen Yazi all the way out of Chunming Hall, but he never saw her speak. He himself couldn't hold his breath anymore. Zhizi, don't you have anything to ask me? Shen Yazi looked surprised. What should I ask you? Gu Swiding pursed her thin lips into a thin line, looking depressed and looking at her somewhat angrily. Of course, this anger was not directed at her, but at the culprit of the nonsense. Shen Yazi was amused by his expression, and raised her finger at him, gesturing for him to bend down. Gu Swiding leaned over, and the next moment, his face was held by her, and she tapped him on the forehead. Do you think I will doubt you because of a few vague words from outsiders? You have too little confidence in me. Gu Swiding hooked her waist and brought her into his arms, rubbing the top of her hair and willingly admitting his mistake. Well, I shouldn't have done it. Shen Yazi squeezed his waist again. Also, why did you join in the fun of Qingbao's performances? You also took away 3 opportunities at once, disrupting all my original plans. She originally wanted to use this to bring benefits to everyone. Isn't there a saying that if you want to take something first, you must give it first? If you take advantage of others and take advantage of her, those people will naturally favor her. When you leave here, are you afraid that they will not help her with free publicity? You must know that in this era, there is also such a thing as chasing stars, and those celebrities are the targets of the general public. Otherwise, where did their names of Qin Sheng and Painting Sage come from? Wasn't it selected by their passionate fans? These people are walking star idols. Think about it: if they went out and unanimously praised her Minjia villa, would they be afraid that the villa would not be famous? Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 312. Celebrity effect is important everywhere, and with the endorsement of these celebrities, her Minjia villa will be popular throughout the Tianyuan Empire in the shortest possible time. Maybe it can even be spread to foreign countries. Although she thinks that her Minjia villa is good enough, the aroma of the wine is still too deep in the alley, so publicity is essential. It's best to be an instant hit. attracting people from other places to come here and give her money. But Goose Whitting came out and interfered, so she had no choice but to change the scheduled program to drawing talisman in public. But fortunately, the final effect achieved is not bad. Goose Whitting asked with a smile, "I was wrong, how do you plan to punish me?" When Shen Yizi heard the word punishment, he couldn't help but think of all the scenes of Xianting punishing her. She shook her head, shaking away those shameful things. "Since you are so sincere in admitting your mistake and asking for punishment, wouldn't it be outrageous if I didn't express it? Well, tonight, the task of coaxing Qingbao and the others to sleep will be left to you. By the way, don't come back. Just stay with them." Goose Whitting refused in his heart, but looking at Shen Yizi's half-smiling eyes, he gave in. "Well, I promise to complete the task." "When will Hizzy plan to fulfill those 3 conditions?" Goose Whitting asked rhetorically. Shen Yizi pushed him into the shade of the flowers next to him and grabbed his collar. "You can do it at any time." "What do you want me to do?" Goose Whitting was shaken by her words. He hugged her and placed her on the rockery that was half a person's height. "I want." Before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Xiao San, who rushed over. "Girl, there's something going on at Wanja Pavilion." Goose Whitting had the urge to tear Xiaosan apart. This puppet butler really has no eyes at all. Shen Yizi kissed Goose Whitting on the lips and said, "Be good, I'll make it up to you tonight." It wasn't until Shen Yizi and Xiao San left that Goose Whitting, who was leaning on the rock, came back to his senses. He stretched out his hand to touch the place where she kissed him, and the smile at the corner of his eyes and eyebrows was so thick that he couldn't get rid of it. "Tisk, tisk, one kiss made you stupid? If it were like what she and I did last time, wouldn't you be about to explode on the spot?" a voice sounded in my mind. Goose Whitting's eyes instantly turned cold. "Xianting, don't try to anger me. Give me your body to play with. Don't think about it." So, a battle for the body began. Goose Whitting's eyes were constantly changing from black to red, which was really weird. Fortunately, it is relatively hidden here and no one will notice it. Finally, Goose Whitting's eyes turned red. He smiled evilly and cast an illusion on himself to hide the color of his eyes. Stepping out from the shade of the flowers, "I happened to meet Yu Linglong." "Your Majesty." Yu Linglong's eyes lit up and she stepped forward to greet him. Xianting looked her up and down. This woman was actually naturally charming. No wonder she was average looking but could attract so many men. He walked over and touched the end of her eyes with his hand. Although some men look cold and ruthless, once they fall in love with someone, they will be so hot that they can't resist. Such a man is like corrosive wine, a potent poison that makes people fly to the flame uncontrollably even though they know they are not allowed to approach him. Goose Whitting is such a man. Yu Linglong couldn't help but fall in love with him from the first time she saw him, and she thought about this man all the time. At this moment, just by him gently caressing the end of her eyes, her body became uncontrollably soft. A slight gasp escaped from her lips, and she looked at him with charming eyes. "Your Majesty." "Hold your body towards him." Xianting smiled without any warmth and stabbed her eyes with his fingers like knives, gouging out her eyeballs. Yu Linglong screamed in pain, covering the bleeding eye hole with her fingers, and her other eye was full of fear. How could she have imagined that someone who was clearly out of reach one moment was still having an affair with her, and could be ruthless in the next moment? Xianting threw away the eyeball and said, "Next time you dare to talk nonsense and ruin my reputation, I will let you eat the other eyeball." Yu Linglong. She was so scared that she huddled up on the ground. She was wrong, she shouldn't have fallen in love with this man at all, he was a devil. She didn't dare to get up until the sound of Xuanting's footsteps faded away. She crawled toward the eyeball, but the moment she touched it, the eyeball suddenly disappeared, and her gouged eye also regained sight. She touched it in disbelief, and the blood stains disappeared. If her eyes weren't still in pain, she would have thought that what just happened was just an illusion. At this moment, she felt endless chill and her body was shaking uncontrollably. Asterisk. Shen Yizi arrived at Wanju Pavilion. Before he walked in, he heard a wild voice coming from inside, "Bring more wine." On the way here, Shen Yizi already knew what happened from Xiao San's mouth. The man inside is Xie Fang, a world-famous poet. He is a man of loose temperament and a prolific poet and drinker. He once wrote a poem such as "I come mad to make light of the world, but I gain true knowledge while drunk." His favorite thing in his life is the food in his cup. Writing poetry is just his side job. This time, the reason why he accepted Shen Yizi's invitation was because she listed several wine names in the invitation and included a bottle of wine. Of course, there is another important reason, that is, he has been so poor recently that he has no money to buy wine. Since he lives all over the world, how about a trip to Minjia Villa? If what was said on the invitation was true, wouldn't there be endless wine? If it was false, haha, he would write a poem to scold the person who dared to deceive him, and let his infamy spread throughout the world. In fact, Shen Yizi did not give him a chance to write a poem to scold himself. After coming here, Xie Fang was like a wine worm that fell into a wine barrel, and he couldn't care less about his childhood. He had been drinking at the banquet before, drinking Yufukan, pear blossom white, and snake gall wine, grain wine, medicinal wine, fruit wine, honey wine, beer. He tasted all the wines available in the villa. All over. It just so happens that this person is a very drinker. He drank so much wine in his stomach that he was still not drunk. Instead, he continued to search for Wanju Pavilion and drank heavily. Good wine, what a good wine. The maid in the hotel was really overwhelmed and had to report the matter to Xiao San. Shen Yizi approached the Wanju Pavilion and saw wine jars piled on the ground at Xie Fang's feet. The maid wanted to come forward and clean them up, but he refused to let them go. A strong aroma of wine filled the air, making people feel slightly tipsy after taking a sip. When the maid saw Shen Yizi, she quickly looked at him asking for help. Over there, Xie Fang saw that the wine hadn't been delivered for a long time and was already pounding the table. Shen Yizi stepped forward and took out a jug of wine from the space. This is one of the first batches of wine she brewed. It was made from peach blossoms and was buried under the peach blossom tree, so it was named Peach Blossom Drunkenness. Normally she is not willing to drink it herself. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 313. Shen Yizi placed the wine in front of Xie Fang. Xie Fang didn't even look at her. He only had wine in his eyes. He stretched out his hand to take it, but didn't take it. Shen Yizi pressed one hand on the lid of the pot. Xie Fang looked over with drunken eyes, relax, hiccup, let go. Shen Yizi smiled at him, do you know what kind of wine this is? This is peach blossom drunkenness. You have to drink it slowly, cup by cup. If you drink like you did before, you will waste this good wine. She slowly opened the lid of the pot, and a heady aroma of wine escaped like mist. Xie Fang's eyes widened, quick, fill it up for me. Shen Yizi poured him a small cup. Xie Fang brought it to the tip of his nose and took a deep sniff like an addict taking opium. His whole body showed a rippling expression like an orgasm. I seem to have seen a peach blossom fairy in the aroma of this wine. Shen Yizi. He took a sip of it preciously, beautiful, so beautiful. He drank the rest of the wine in one gulp, and because Shen Yizi was too slow to pour it, he snatched the jug away, pointed the spout at his own mouth, and swallowed like a sweet wine. After drinking, he sighed happily, stood up suddenly, walked unsteadily to a wall, and very roughly tore off the simple style spliced silk painting on it as a decoration, and took out a piece of silk painting from the inner pocket of his clothes. A slender bamboo tube. In the bamboo tube was a pen he carried with him wherever he went, so that he could write when he was inspired to write poems. Inspiration is a fleeting thing. If you don't record it in time, you won't be able to get it back when you wake up. Xiefang holds a pot in one hand and a pen in the other, writing freely on the white wall. Shen Yizi immediately took out the photo stone and recorded this memorable scene. However, not a single word appeared on the wall. Xiefang was also drunk and confused. The tip of his pen was not even dipped in ink. How could he write? But if you disturb him now, you might interrupt his train of thought. In this moment of inspiration, it's best to get it done in one go. Shen Yizi said to Xiao San, "Write down his handwriting and make a copy when you go back." Yes. This poet's calligraphy treasure is hard to find. Now that he took the initiative to write a piece on the wall of his tavern, of course she must keep it well. From now on, this will be a living sign. After writing on the entire wall, Xiefang threw away the pen, raised his head, took a sip of wine, and sprayed it all over the wall. Oddly enough, the wall where the writing was originally invisible suddenly became full of writing when soaked with wine. This is a piece of running script. The font is bold and refreshing, like a dragon flying in the sky. The domineering and casual words seem to fly out of the wall at any time. Xiefang sighed twice, "Wonderful, wonderful." He actually boasted about himself. Then he fell to the ground and passed out drunk. Move him into the back room and give him a sobering pill. Wake him up before the time comes, Shen Yizi said to the maid. Yes, the owner of the village. Shen Yizi came to the wall, got closer and smelled it, and sure enough he smelled a faint medicinal fragrance. Xiefang's pen. The tip of the pen was probably soaked in some kind of special medicinal ink, and the written words would become visible under the influence of the wine. He is indeed a good drinker, and he came up with such a method. Shen Yizi took 2 steps back and looked at the poem Ode to the Peach Blossom Immortal in the Bright Moon written by the poet Sieda. No wonder Xiefang is narcissistic, this poem is indeed well written. Although she couldn't write it herself, she still knew the good news. A good article is like an extremely delicious dish. Every word is read out of your mouth with a mellow aroma. From now on, I will protect this wall carefully, and no damage is allowed. Shen Yizi said to the staff in the tavern. Although she received positive responses from everyone, she was still a little worried. I remembered that the complete collection of talisman and seal script that my master gave me recorded a kind of talisman named Xian Li. It is specially used to protect calligraphy, painting, and bamboo slips. This is a second-level talisman, and it is still difficult for her to draw it now. However, in order to protect this poem that may be passed down through the ages, we must overcome even the difficulties. Shen Yizi began to concentrate on drawing the symbols. This time it was not as easy as drawing the first-level talisman and seal before, and failure began to catch up with her. After destroying 7 or 8 talisman papers in a row, I could barely draw one. Shen Yizi took a long breath and slapped the Xian Li talisman on the wall. Before this talisman is used up, this ode to the peach blossom immortal in the bright moon will never fade or be damaged in any way. Of course, if the entire wall suffers, then the blessings on the wall will naturally not be able to escape. So she added a formation in the entire tavern to protect the tavern. Now, everything should be foolproof, right? 2 hours passed by in a flash, and soon it was time for the auction. However, when Shen Yizi returned to Chunming Hall, he found that there were only a few people inside, less than 1/10 of the original number. I would like to know why. It is estimated that all of these people are lingering somewhere in the villa. There was no other way, she could only ask the maid to invite them over one by one. In the end, it took nearly an hour for most of the people to gather. Others just refuse to move and are addicted to their favorite things. This is the result of Shen Yazi revealing the auction items to them in advance. Otherwise, her auction today may not go ahead. The job of hosting still falls on Xiao San. He first introduced the rules of the auction to everyone. This auction adopts the form of a secret auction. What is a secret auction? It means that you do not bid publicly, but write your bidding price on a bamboo stick. When the results are finally announced, the highest bidder will win. There will be a bamboo tube on your desk with a bamboo stick with your number written on it, which is used for bidding. It turns out that these bamboo sticks are used for bidding, so I asked what the purpose of putting a bamboo stick on the table is. Shooting in the dark, it's quite new. This is a good idea. It will prevent someone from seeing the same thing and bidding in public, which will hurt the peace. What if my price is viewed by others? Someone expressed concern. Shen Yi knew, don't worry, everyone. The ink you use to write on your desk is a medicinal ink. It will not show up when you write. It will be revealed only when you spray the matching medicine on it. So what you write is up to you. You know it, but no one else can see it. Even Butler Xiaosan can only find out when everyone collects the bamboo sticks and sprays them with potion. She got the inspiration from Xie Fang. In addition, she also set up a formation in the hall to isolate the spiritual consciousness to prevent the monks from prying into the words written by others through the spiritual consciousness. In this way, everyone felt relieved. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 314. As the auctioneer of this auction, Xiao San placed a tall table in front of him. On the table there was a palm-high bronze bell, a delicate gold hammer, and an hourglass. He picked up the hammer and tapped the bronze bell. A rich and ethereal sound resounded, and everyone unconsciously became quiet. The first auction of Minjia Villa starts now. The first lot is a bottle of Vinyang pills. There are 10 pills in the bottle. Vinyang pills are beneficial to qi and blood, and can continuously warm and nourish the human body. The medicinal effect is mild. It can be taken by men, women, old, and young. The base price is 998 taels. If you are interested, please write the price on a bamboo stick and hand it over to the maid. The time is based on the hourglass. When the sand inside completely falls, you will no longer be able to participate in the bidding. He turned the hourglass upside down, and the sand inside began to trickle down. The time it takes for the sand to leak out is 3 minutes. 3 minutes will not give everyone much time to think. And Shen Yazi wanted this effect. Sure enough, seeing the sand leaking continuously, the potential bidders panicked and hurriedly wrote the price on a bamboo stick and placed it on the plate held by the maid. At the beginning, Shen Yazi was a little bored. Qingbao and the other 3 were impatient to stay here, so they ran off to play by themselves. Otherwise, she can still have a plate of babies. Zhizi, are you bored? Gu Switting's voice sounded in his mind. Shen Yazi looked down to the left. Gu Switting was lazily leaning on the armrest of the low couch, holding a wine glass in his hand and turning it carelessly. A pair of eyes looked at her steadily. At this moment, she actually had the feeling that Xianting was appearing in front of her, but his eyes were indeed black. Could it be that Gu Switting was influenced by Xianting? Or is it that Xianting has already begun to devour Gu Switting? Shen Yazi's heart skipped a beat, but it didn't show on his face. He shook his glass and raised his glass, yes. The next moment, she saw Gu Switting walking towards her. She was about to stop him, but she saw Gu Switting still sitting there. How is this going? Clone technique? Or illusion? Shen Yazi found that he couldn't tell the difference. Xianting just walked up, sat down next to her, stretched out his arms, held her on his lap and sat down. Others were completely unaware. You, don't make trouble, so many people were watching. Shen Yazi didn't dare to move too much for fear of being spotted. Xianting took a sip on her face, and his voice was as clear and mellow as wine, with a sultry drunkenness. What are you afraid of? They won't be able to find out. Isn't it boring? Isn't it good for me to accompany you? I. Shenyazi opened his lips, but it gave him an opportunity to take advantage of. In the eyes of everyone, the two of them were sitting in their own seats, paying attention to the auction. 3 minutes passed, and the sand in the hourglass drained out. Xiao San arranged the bamboo sticks of the bidders on the high table, and then sprayed the bamboo sticks one by one with the potion, and the writing on them was revealed. At the same time, this scene is also presented on the projection stone. The price is clear at a glance. The person who paid the highest price was a man named Gang, 5,899 taels. It is only 11 taels higher than the person with the second highest price. The person sitting on Gang's throne is Wendiaming. Xiao San singled out his bamboo stick and rang the bronze bell. Congratulations to this guest, this bottle of Vinyang pills is yours. Hearing that, Daming immediately received everyone's attention. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that I was the highest bidder. Brother Chu, I accepted. He raised his hand to Chu Bai Tao, who was diagonally opposite. There was a little pride in his smile. That's right, the person who paid the second highest price was Chu Bai Tao, the master of perfumery. He was only 11 taels lower than Wendiaming, so he missed out on this lot. Wendiaming was very open-minded and said, "It's okay. There are a lot of good things in the back. I brought enough banknotes and I can always buy what I want." At this moment, Wendiaming couldn't help but laugh. Because it suddenly occurred to him that he didn't bring much money with him when he went out this time. What can be done? After bidding on an item, you do not need to pay immediately. Instead, you will wait until the auction is over, then pay and receive the item. Otherwise, Wendiaming would be faced with the dilemma of having no money to pay the bill at this moment. Taking advantage of the opportunity to go to the toilet, he quietly asked the maid who was leading the way, "Well, I am in a hurry when I come out and I don't have much cash with me. Can your village be accommodating?" "Of course, I will never default on my debt." The maid took the opportunity to recommend the Big Banyan Tree Foundation to him. "Mr. Wen, our villa can provide loan services." Hearing Daming immediately raised his vigilance. Does Minjaya Villa still want to take advantage of this opportunity to make loan sharks? However, after listening to the maid's detailed explanation, he realized that this was not a loan shark. On the contrary, the interest rate for borrowing money from some foundation was very low, and it also supported repayment in installments. There's even no interest for the first month. Is there such a good thing? The maid smiled and said, "Do you think our owner will ruin his reputation for temporary gain?" Wendiaming thought of the various treasures he saw in the villa and shook his head. "Okay, take me to see it." There is a branch of the foundation in the villa. It is a small courtyard. In the east and west of the courtyard, there is an old vine as thick as a bowl. It is twisted and twisted. The vines climb all over the courtyard walls and roof, and hang down from the eaves, creating a natural appearance. Green curtain. The curtain is dotted with small fireworks like flowers in purple, pink, and white, which are beautiful and fresh. As soon as Wendiaming stepped into the courtyard, his eyes were moistened by the greenery that hid his face. After entering, the clerk introduced him to the various businesses in his store in detail. When he returned to Chunming Hall, he heard that Daming had already put 100,000 taels of silver notes in his pocket. He couldn't help but reach out and touch his chest. The pile of banknotes was lying in the inner pocket of his chest. It is sad to say that although he is a well-known jade carving master, he also earns a lot of money. Even a lot. A single piece of work can be sold for thousands of taels. But this was the first time he had so much money in his pocket. Who told him to be a housewife? The wife of the family was too strict and never allowed him to take too much money, saying she was afraid that he would buy all the jade if his hands were itchy. When he found good jade material, he got hot-headed and didn't have enough money to spend. He had to admit this. So he has now developed a good habit of carrying only a little pocket money in his pocket when going out. But he had seen the auction brochure. There were several pieces of top quality jade in it, as well as 2 jade carvings that had been lost. One of the 2-eared bull-headed jade cups has half-moon-shaped ears, a shallow belly, and a flat bottom. The outside is decorated with relief cloud patterns. The bull's head is also carved with high-relief techniques. The remaining small details are also decorated with round carvings, open-work carvings, etc. A carving technique. The overall decoration is smooth and elegant, and the jade quality is rich and moist. It is truly a rare masterpiece. If he can auction this jade cup, he might be able to study the lost carving technique. So, you must never be without money in your pocket. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 315. Loans from the foundation are interest-free for the first month. If you can repay the money within 1 month, you won't have to spend any extra money. How nice. Although Madame was a little harsh on him regarding money, she was by no means ignorant. When he went back and told her the reason, and bought a few novel items to coax him, the matter could still be solved easily. Hearing Daming thought happily. There was a hint of sadness on his face. Chu Bai Tao asked, "Brother Daming, why did you come back so long? We just auctioned several good things." Hearing Daming laughed, "Isn't this just a moment of greed? I'm a bit upset." He stroked the banknotes in his chest pocket and felt at ease. "With this money, I thought it would be a piece of cake to take a picture of the jade cup with 2 ears and an ox head. It's a pity that he thought too beautifully. 100,000 taels may be a lot elsewhere, but here, it is nothing. Those things that were auctioned at the beginning, such as pills, jade materials, pearl facial masks, ancient books, calligraphy and paintings, were not too rare. The materials are all non-aura free. Even if it is expensive, it is still within their acceptable range. But later on, things like spiritual honey, spiritual wine, spiritual rice, spiritual liquid, talismans, and even martial arts all appeared. At this stage, there are not many people present who have the ability to participate in the auction. But who can resist the attraction of these things? As a result, many people in the audience got up and left the meeting on the pretext of going to the toilet. They either borrowed money from the nearby foundation like Wen Daming did, or used special channels to notify their families and send the money quickly. Seeing this, Shen Yizi simply asks Yao San to announce a break for 2/4 of an hour. It should be enough for them to raise enough funds, right? However, some people had other thoughts during this half hour. "Brother Lu, I'm very interested in that bottle of spiritual liquid. You must be too, right?" "Haha, that's natural. If you have a bottle of spiritual liquid in your hand, it's equivalent to having an extra spiritual power for nothing. It's a pity that such a good thing will definitely attract everyone to fight for it. I have a way to get the thing." "Oh, Brother Zhao, come and listen." This is a conversation that took place in a toilet stall. What the two of them didn't know was that nothing they planned was hidden from Shen Yizi and Xianting's perception. Xianting bit Shen Yizi's ear, "What are you going to do?" Shen Yizi leaned against him lazily and hummed softly, "If you want to use tricks on my territory, it depends on whether I agree or not." The person named Zhao is Zhao Ziwen, the head of the Zhao family in Langcheng. His plan is simple to say, which is to win over Lu Qi first, and then separate operations with him, so as to persuade several other competitive opponents to deliberately write down low prices when bidding. At that time, Zhao Ziwen can buy back the spiritual liquid at a relatively low price. When he gets the spiritual liquid back, he can split it half with Lu Qi. Of course, that's what he said. As for whether he will turn his back on me then, I don't know. Anyway, Lu Qi agreed to his proposal after he promised some benefits. Then the two of them split up to find the others. "Miss Bai, can you take a step to speak?" Zhao Ziwen found that the first person he came to was Bai Xiaoshu. This is all because Bai Xiaoshu has been in the limelight several times in the previous auctions, and her efficiency in spending money is astonishing. She was willing to pay a high price of 30,000 taels for even a jade bracelet, and she must have spared no expense in order to recover the spiritual liquid. But Zhao Ziwen was sure to convince her. You deliberately wrote a low price during the auction. After the event is completed, you will give me half of the spiritual liquid. After listening to Zhao Ziwen's call, Bai Xiaoshu quickly extracted the key sentences from it. Yes, this way Miss Bai doesn't have to spend a lot of money, and she can get half a bottle of spiritual liquid back for free. It's a good deal, isn't it? Bai Xiaoshu pondered. She is weighing the pros and cons. What Zhao Ziwen said was indeed very attractive. Even if she paid a high price during the bidding, she might not be able to get the spirit liquid. However, if she followed what Zhao Ziwen said, she would be able to get half a bottle after the auction. Of course, that's assuming he can also successfully convince others. But what if Master Shen finds out about this? No, not in case, but very likely. She could feel that there were layers of formation set up throughout the villa, and maybe Shen Yizi heard everything they said at the moment. As a monk, she knows the methods of monks best. And this Zhao Ziwen is just a mortal, and he knows nothing about the methods of monks. Also thinks he is smart. Thinking of this, Bai Xiaoshu was about to reject him. I still prefer. Take it by yourself, so as not to ruin the eyes of Master Shen. Halfway through the words, a voice suddenly sounded in my head. Promise him, I'll trick him by the way, and I'll give you a bottle of spiritual liquid afterwards. Shen Yizi. Bai Xiaoshu's pupils shrank suddenly. It seems that her guess is indeed correct. Their every move is probably in Shen Yizi's perception. Otherwise, why could she transmit the message so timely? She couldn't help but feel glad that she had made the right choice, otherwise she wouldn't know what would be waiting for her then. Bai Xiaoshu paused. Get the benefits first. Who knows whether Mr. Zhao will fulfill his promise afterwards? If you mess with me, I won't be able to deal with it, right? Zhao Ziwen knew that she was relenting, but he deliberately showed a wry smile on his face. Miss Bai, is Zhao the kind of villain who doesn't keep his word? Bai Xiaoshu shrugged. I'm not familiar with you, how would I know? Zhao Ziwen choked and took out something with determination. This is the heirloom of my Zhao family. It was passed down from generation to generation by the ancestors of my Zhao family. If Miss Bai took this, she should trust Zhao Bar. What he took out was a square leather box, no more than the size of a mahjong, and it looked very old. Bai Xiaoshu thought it was some kind of treasure, but when she opened it, she found a melon seed inside. Although this melon seed is surprisingly big, almost 4 or 5 times the size of ordinary melon seeds, it is still a melon seed. At best, it's just mutated. There's nothing strange about it. Bai Xiaoshu closed the box. Mr. Zhao, are you kidding me? As he spoke, he released a trace of monk pressure, which immediately made Zhao Ziwen bend at the waist. He wiped the cold sweat from his forehead with difficulty. Miss Bai, don't get me wrong, this is really passed down from my ancestors. If you don't believe it, you can try it. This melon seed, no, this treasure, is invulnerable to water and fire, and cannot be smashed. It's not an ordinary thing. Yeah. Bai Xiaoshu looked suspicious. She tried it and found that it was just as Zhao Ziwen said, this melon seed was not ordinary. But since you know this is a treasure, why are you still willing to give it to me, just so that I won't participate in the bidding? It's a bit of a loss. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 316. Zhao Ziwen slandered. if I hadn't been able to develop the use of this treasure, do you think I would be willing to take it out? Instead of guarding a treasure whose use is unknown and has never been used, it is better to exchange it for other real benefits. It is said that the 12th son of our family, who has been known as a genius since he was a child, is preparing to make a breakthrough. If he can take this bottle of spiritual liquid and send it to his master's house, will it be of no use to him? Once they get the favor of this family, they, a branch of the Zhao family, can flourish. Zhao Ziwen was making calculations in his mind, but he had a look of helplessness on his face. As a monk, Miss Bai, how can she know the suffering of ordinary people like us? Bai Xiaoshu accepted it as soon as it was good. Okay, I will accept this treasure. When the time comes to auction the spiritual liquid back, I will never bid against you. Zhao Ziwen breathed a sigh of relief after receiving her correct words. Thank you so much, Miss Bai. After finishing one, he moved on to the next target. What he didn't know was that Shen Yizi was seeing all of this. If the person he is looking for is unwilling to complicit with him, Shen Yizi will secretly send a message to that person, and the content will be similar to the one sent to Bai Xiaoshu. If the person he finds has the same idea as him, haha, then I'm sorry. Such people will be blacklisted by her. From now on, the prices sold to them in the villa will definitely be higher than others. Half an hour passed, the relaxation time was over, and everyone returned to their seats. In order to avoid suspicion, Zhao Ziwen and Lu Qi deliberately separated and came in from different doors one after the other. However, during the bidding, the two of them looked at each other tacitly. After a few rounds, there will be an auction for the spirit liquid. Shen Yizi sent a message to his master, who had always been a spectator and only focused on eating. Master, do me a favor. You can buy this bottle of spiritual fluid and set the price high. Because Luo Yaoyao had never participated in the bidding, and his clothes were very simple, Zhao Ziwen naturally thought that he was a poor guy. In the previous underground party, he did not find anyone at all. Pass him. She could already imagine how interesting the expressions of Zhao and Lu would be when the results came out later. Humph, if you dare to join forces to steal my money, sooner or later you will be bleeding a lot. Xianting liked her bad and naughty look, so he rubbed her hard into his arms. Shen Yizi patted him on the arm and said, my waist will be broken by your strangulation. Xianting deliberately misinterpreted her words, are you tired like this? Then it seems that I have to give you a good waist training, so as not to be really exhausted in the future. He grasped her waist with his big hands and kneaded it skillfully. It took Shen Yizi a while to react, and he could barely hold in his breath. Tired and broken? How could he say such dirty words? The warmth from his palm spread through the thin material of his clothes. It was hot and itchy. Shen Yizi twisted his waist to avoid it, but he still couldn't avoid it. Goosewitting, if you keep doing this, I'll be angry. She tried to keep a straight face. However, there was still a smile in the corner of her eyes, which not only made her expression less intimidating, but also made him want to bully her, ravage her, and penetrate her even more. The desire came so violently and unexpectedly that Xianting could hardly maintain the illusion and exposed a pair of hidden blood eyes in front of her. Noticing the tension in his body and the sudden appearance of veins on his forehead, Shen Yizi thought he was ill and hurriedly gave him a King's-In pill. Goosewitting, calm down, calm down. Quickly recite the Qing Heart Sutra silently. Xianting. In the field, the auction results for the spiritual liquid have come out. Congratulations to Xi and Sanyao's guest for bidding on this bottle of spirit liquid for 1.3 million taels. Xiao San made the final decision. The person sitting on Xi and number 3 is Luo Yaoyao. Zhao Ziwen's originally prepared expression suddenly froze on his face. He rubbed his eyes and stared hard at the projection stone screen. However, the words on the Xi and number 3 bamboo stick that read 103,000 taels of silver remained unchanged. So, the old man who has been sitting there silently turned out to be a very rich man? Have you made a mistake? You said you are so rich, why do you dress like a beggar? You made me misunderstand that you are a pauper. It's good now, all the benefits have been given away, but the spirit recovery liquid has not been taken. Zhao Ziwen stared at Luo Yao Yao, as if he wanted to poke a few more holes in his clothes that were already full of holes. In fact, Shen Yizi was helpless about Luo Yao Yao's hobby of wearing clothes with holes in them. She has made him so many decent and neat clothes, but he has not been seen wearing them. Every time I promised well, I would still go my own way next time. Besides, he was spoiled. Are you having abandoning my master to embarrass you? Isn't it? Facing such unreasonable troubles from him, what else could Shen Yizi do? I can only let him go. But liking to wear rags is one thing. He also loves to be clean. The first thing he does when he gets up every day is to perform a dust cleaning spell on himself. Otherwise he should despise himself. Let's get down to business. How could Luo Yao Yao not feel Zhao Ziwen's intense gaze? He turned his head as if chewing a chicken leg. What are you looking at? Have you never seen a handsome old man like me? Zhao Ziwen. Even when Daming next to him couldn't help but look sideways. From now on, no one dared to make any small moves anymore, they all bid honestly. The auction didn't end until 7 o'clock. Last for a full 5 hours. If you feel hungry or thirsty during this period, you can always call the maid to bring you food and drink. If you feel sleepy, you can take a nap. The food in the villa contains spiritual energy. Although it is weak, it has great benefits for the human body. At least after this afternoon, everyone did not feel tired at all. On the contrary, they were in good spirits. So Shen Yizi took advantage of the situation and held a dinner party. The food is all ready, and the kitchen has been busy all day long. By the end of the day, everyone had become familiar with each other, so the atmosphere at the dinner was very harmonious, and everyone left the table from time to talk to others. The banquet did not end until more than 10 o'clock in the evening. Everyone left Chunming Hall with satisfaction and followed the maid to their own room. Yang Chenyuan, in a certain room. Bai Xiaoshu sat cross-legged on the bed and took the time to practice. A spiritual energy much richer than that in the family secret room poured into her body. She felt that she had never been so addicted to cultivation as at this moment. It would be great if I could stay here forever. Asterisk. Shen family. In Shen Yizi's space. Xianting walked into the bedroom of Qingbao and the others. It was almost midnight, but the three little guys had no intention of sleeping. Qingbao was crawling around on his tree-hole bed, Yuanbao was playing with building blocks, and Nian was sitting on his big soft bed eating potato chips. Eating and dropping the dregs. When they saw him, the three of them were not afraid at all. They even ran over and tried to get him to join the group. Dad, come and play with us. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 317. Facing the three baby dolls hugging his legs, Xianting wanted to be arrogant, but found that he couldn't do it. Ahem, he cleared his throat, shall we play a game? Okay, okay, the three little ones clapped their hands and jumped up and down. Thinking of Shen Yizi who was snooping outside, Xianting's heart skipped a beat and he made a shh gesture. Qingbao and Yuanbao both covered their mouths in tacit understanding and blinked their eyes. Nian reacted slowly and took a bite. The sound of the potato chips being cut into pieces was particularly obvious. Seeing everyone else looking at her, she twirled her fingers innocently. Xianting was so cute that his heart dropped. Hold the three little guys to the bed, and he also lay down on it, leaning on his side, supporting his face with the back of his hands. Come on, everyone, close your eyes. Whoever can close their eyes the longest will be rewarded. The three Qings and Baos thought he was really playing with them, and were not aware of his ulterior motives at all, so they rushed to close their eyes. Qingbao also covered it with his hands, and the fleshy dimples on the back of his hands were particularly obvious. Even with her eyes closed, Nianyan's mouth is still moving, but the frequency and amplitude are much smaller. Among them, Yuanbao is the most well-behaved. His little hands are folded calmly on his belly, and his sleeping face is cute and delicate. Xianting looked at the three little darlings with a tenderness and doting in his eyes that he had never realized. Then he saw Qingbao quietly open his fingers, glanced secretly at Yuanbao and Nian next to him, and then pretended that he had not opened his eyes. He suddenly said, as expected of his cub, he is clever. But children cannot be shielded, otherwise they are likely to grow crooked in the future. Qingbao, you are not allowed to peek this round, you are eliminated. Yuanbao and Nian both performed very well, and each will be rewarded with a lollipop. It doesn't matter what you reward, what matters is being rewarded. Qingbao almost cried when he saw that his two friends had lollipops, but he didn't. Xianting hurriedly comforted him softly, be good, Qingbao, try to perform well in the next round, and you can still get the lollipop. Then in this round, Qingbao closed his eyes and fell asleep. One of his fat legs was raised up, just 3 inches below his navel. Xianting. Does this kid want to ruin his mother's happiness? Nian and Qingbao's movements were synchronized, but they pressed their legs on Yuanbao's body. The 3 children were all asleep. It seems that it is not difficult to coax the child to sleep. Xianting felt a little proud in his heart. He carefully removed Qingbao's chubby legs from his body and gently got out of bed. Shenyazi, who was waiting outside, saw him coming out and asked silently, are you all asleep? Xianting held her hand and walked out before saying with joy, well, I fell asleep. Looking at his arrogant look, Shenyazi couldn't help but feel suspicious, are you sure? She knew the nature of her little ancestors very well. When had they been coaxed to sleep so easily? In the bedroom. The 3 people who were sleeping sprawled out opened their eyes one after another. Qingbao, finally, I coaxed Dad away. Yuanbao, it's rare for father and mother to get together. As children, we must be considerate. Nian, get off my bed. Outside the door, the father and mother listening in the corner fell into silence at the same time. Shenyazi raised his eyebrows, these 3 little are really big guys. Look at what they are saying. Xianting felt a little burning on his face. He was beaten by 3 little guys. No one would believe him if he told me. Shenyazi knocked on the door and said, if you don't sleep, I'll lock you in a dark room. The few people who were making a fuss suddenly felt as if the shutdown button had been pressed, and their bodies froze in place. The legendary little dark room, with no light, no sound and no snacks. Is my mother finally going to be cruel to them? The 3 of them climbed into their beds quickly and covered themselves with quilts. After a while, the sound of milk and milky snoring could be heard from inside. This time, they really fell asleep. Shenyazi crooked Xianting with his elbow and said, you see, sometimes coaxing is useless, you have to use a high-pressure policy. One by one, you just need to deal with it. You, the father, need to learn more. Xianting said with a look of acceptance, yes, Gigi taught me a lesson. I will definitely learn from it in the future. Well, it's getting late, you should go to bed. Shenyazi turned and walked towards his bedroom, leaving someone behind. 1 step, 2 steps, no one behind her made a sound, and she felt relieved. She was afraid that he would take the opportunity to ask her to fulfill those 3 conditions. Just don't mention it, just don't mention it. However, it turned out that she was too naive. When she had stepped into the bedroom and was about to close the door was blocked by a big hand. Zhizzy, have you forgotten something? Huh? Is there any? If so, let's wait until tomorrow. I'm so sleepy, Shen Yizi yawned. Xianting dragged her into his arms and said into her ear, "No, we must say it today." Shen Yizi sighed in his heart. It seemed that if he didn't fulfill those 3 conditions today, it would be impossible. "Okay, you say it." "The first condition, I want you to." Xianting paused deliberately, "conclude a lifelong contract with me." Shen Yizi thought he heard wrongly and subconsciously asked, "What contract?" Xianting held her face and kissed her deeply until her legs were weak and could not stand. Then he kindly left her lips and answered her question, "Tongshenki." "The contract of living together. After it is concluded, both parties will live and die together, and their lives will be shared. Unless 2 people die together, as long as one person lives, the other person cannot die. If you are seriously injured, you can also draw life force from another person for replenishment. The benefits are huge, but so are the risks. Once a contract is made, it is equivalent to tying one's life to another person. A real grasshopper on a string." "Are you sure?" Shen Yizi didn't know whether he was crazy or demented. Xianting held her in his arms, his lips lingering on her face, greedily kissing her eyebrows, and said in a hoarse voice, "Of course. Promise me." Shen Yizi was struck by his eyes and couldn't help blurting out, "Okay. Be good, let's go out." The Divine Emperor's Pearl has not formed a complete heavenly Dao. Even if they conclude a contract here, it will not be recognized by heavenly Dao, so they have to go out first. In the corridor on the 3rd floor of the small building, the 2 of them stood under the star-studded night and concluded a contract of living together. The moment the contract was created, Shen Yizi vaguely saw a thin light flying out of his body, and Xianting did the same. This is the causal line that represents each of them. 2 causal lines are intertwined and inseparable, which means that their future destinies are closely linked, no matter how far apart they are. Subsequently, the 2 ends of the entangled causal line connected their index fingers together and entangled them several times. Each time around, the 2 of them felt closer to each other. At the end, the line of cause and effect wound to its end, and their palms were pressed together. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 318. The line of cause and effect disappeared, replaced by a silver-white ring on their respective index fingers. The style of the ring is extremely simple, but full of beauty. Shen Yizi looked at the ring on his hand. "Is this a bit too fantasy?" She touched it and the ring was real. Xianting was tickled by her blank expression. He grabbed her hand and kissed her fingers. "This is the Tongshen knot. It is invisible to others except ourselves." Shen Yizi looked at his hand with the ring on it. His whole person was still a bit unreal. "She is not married yet, how come she is trapped? This Tongshen knot is also a thief. I didn't choose any finger, but I chose the index finger. Zhizi, since the contract of coexistence has been concluded, let's do another thing today." "Another thing? Become a Taoist couple." "Taoist couple? Isn't that a marriage between monks?" He just wanted to propose marriage, but he didn't prepare anything. Shen Yizi shook off his hand, leaned on the railing, and communicated with Yi Chang. "Tell me quickly, what are the procedures for monks to become Taoist couples?" Yi Chang, "Huh? Become a Taoist couple? In fact, the process of getting married is similar to that of mortals, but it is more complicated. The most important step is to swear the oath of inner demons in front of everyone watching. Why do you suddenly ask about this?" Shen Yizi did not answer and cut off contact. "Yu Chang." After pondering for a while, he jumped up suddenly. "Is Shen Yizi going to become a Taoist companion with someone? Taoist lovers are not just casual friends." Shen Yizi looked at the person in front of him coldly. "Where's the betrothal gift? You don't want to just marry me home, do you? If this is the case, then she has to consider whether to find a father for Qingbao and the others again." Xianting put his hands on the railing, trapping her between his arms, and pressed his forehead against hers. Did you see it? Shen Yizi was about to ask what she saw. The next moment, her consciousness was pulled into a vast space. She stood high above the space, looking down at everything below. Xianting stood beside her, interlocking with hers. Here it is. My accompanying space, I call it chaos. Xianting looked at her. Everything here is the betrothal gift I prepared for you. Are you satisfied? Shen Yizi looked at the mountains of supplies underneath and was a little shocked, speechless for a moment. I'll take you downstairs to have a look. Xianting pulled her and stepped out carelessly reaching the ground. He took her around and introduced them to her one by one. This goo eagle was hunted the year I first arrived in the north in the monster area. Xianting pointed to a complete and huge monster. The goo eagle looks like an eagle, but is 10 times larger than the eagle. Its black golden beak is very sharp, and there are 2 black spiral horns on its head, and its whole body is dark. Its body was fixed by a bracket, its wings were spread out, its head was held high, and its eyes were open. At first glance, Shen Yizi thought it was alive and was startled. The goo eagle has a cunning nature. It will hide in the water and make sounds like a baby to lure people in, and then devour them in one bite. This is a snowman in the sea of raging snow. He is very good at hiding. Even if he hides in the snow and remains motionless for several months, nothing will happen to him. Xianting led Shen Yizi to the second strange beast. The snowman was covered with long, snow-white hair, like snow satin. He squatted on the ground, a bit like an orangutan. The nails on his claws were very long and sharp at first glance. Xianting's next words confirmed her guess. The claws are its sharp weapons. It can disembowel a warrior wearing armor with bare hands. Then how did you kill it? Shen Yizi asked. After seeing various types of strange beasts, Xianting took her to the ore area again. The ores that are extremely rare outside are piled up here. Then comes the treasure area, weapons area. Looking at it one by one, Shen Yizi had only one feeling: Goose Whitting is too arrogant. Now, he will give all these as a dowry gift to her. He dares to give it, and she, of course, dares to ask for it. However, she could tell that there were many things inside, especially the taxidermied exotic beasts and weapons, which were his favorites. It is a medal that symbolizes his honor. How could she take it? Not to mention she doesn't need it. There are too many things, so I'll leave them with you for the time being. When I want them, I'll come to you to ask for them. Xianting's focus is, did Yizi agree to be my Taoist companion? Shen Yizi. Ma Dan, you accidentally fell into the sweet trap, he said. Is it too late for her to be more reserved? Xianting told her with actual actions, but of course it was too late. When consciousness returned, Xianting pulled her and bowed to the night sky, then took out a cup. Gourd, also known as gourd, is homophonic too. In ancient rituals, the newlyweds would drink from gourd cups together on their wedding night. Because the gourd was too bitter to be eaten, this move meant that the couple would share the joys and sorrows in the days to come. Xianting and Shen Yizi put their hands together and leaned in to drink their cups at the same time. The clear and crystal wine reflects the stars in the sky, making them bright and clear. The two of them drank the wine in one gulp. I will be with you, I will go with you. Let me drink from the same cup with you, and we will go forward together from now on. Hearing Xianting say these words, Shen Yizi's eyes instantly became moist. But the next moment, Xianting picked her up and said, since we have become Taoist couples, why not take advantage of this beautiful scenery and go to Wushan to enjoy the bliss together? Let's go to Wushan for bliss together. Does this person only have this yellow waste in his mind? She really wanted to feed all the emotions she felt at the previous moment into the dog's belly. When his body was thrown onto the soft bed, Shen Yizi hurriedly held the person on top of him. Goose Whitting. Don't be impulsive, be careful of getting sick again. In order not to expose himself in front of her, Xianting could only endure it even if he heard her calling another man's name, although that man was technically himself. But now, everyone is his, the knot of unity has been tied, and heaven has recognized their relationship. She will never escape from his grasp for the rest of her life. So, does he still need to disguise now? Look into my eyes. Xianting held her wrist to prevent her from moving. Shen Yizi subconsciously did as he said, and then watched as his eyes turned red, and the red pupils shone like cold and clear rubies. You were always pretending before. Her body subconsciously wanted to step back. However, between the sheets, where can she retreat to? Yes, guess when I started to appear. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 319. Shen Yizi's mind quickly went through everything that happened during the day, and suddenly realized that that day during the day was not her illusion at all. By then he had already replaced Gu Switting. Everything that happened after that was done intentionally by him. He even tricked her into entering into a lifelong contract and became a Taoist couple. Despicable villain, Shen Yizi glared at him hatefully. Xianting bit her ear maliciously, really? But don't you like it too? When did I? He smiled lowly, his laughter was hoarse and sexy. When you are kissed deeply by me, when you are wrapped around me, when you fall softly in my arms, Zizi, don't deny it, you like me. Shut up. I like Gu Switting, not you, the who stole his body. Really? Then why can't you recognize me and Gu Switting? You keep saying that you like Gu Switting, but do you know what you look like when you are in my arms? Do you want to see it? Xianting was like a devil, every word he said penetrated into the depths of her heart. Yes, she clearly likes Gu Switting, and Xianting and Gu Switting obviously have completely different personalities. She should recognize him even if he is disguised. Xianting took out the shadow stone and turned it over her face. The above is a picture of her and Xianting together. When did he record it? She didn't notice it at all. Yes, if she could detect it, she wouldn't be fooled by this monster. However, the point is not this, the point is. In the picture, what is recorded is Xuanting's real appearance, not his disguised appearance. He pressed her against the couch and kissed her passionately and passionately. And she clung to him, her face flushed. She could even hear the ambiguous sound of water when the two were kissing. God, let her die. Shen Yizi wished he could drag himself out and whip his body. Turn it off. Xianting, I told you to turn it off, do you hear me? She reached out and tried to the photo stone from his hand. Xianting dodged as soon as he stretched out his arms, and at the same time, he pulled her into his arms and forced her to watch with him. Did you see it? You enjoyed it when I kissed you. Angry and embarrassed to the extreme, Shen Yizi calmed down and said, yes, because at that time I thought you were Gu Switting, so of course I enjoyed it. Now that I know it's you, I feel sick in my stomach and just want to vomit. The aura around Xianting suddenly became extremely cold. Shen Yizi, do you know what will happen if you anger me? What is it? Kill me, haha, then you will die too. Now it seems that the benefits of signing the coexistence contract are still great. At least she doesn't have to worry about this monster taking her life. But then again, he is actually willing to tie his life to her contract. Does that mean that he likes her very much? Shen Yizi couldn't help but think about this. If it were Gu Switting, such behavior would be normal, but if it were Xianting, it would be abnormal. You like me? She looked into his eyes and said firmly. However, after hearing this, Xianting pinched her face as if she had heard a big joke. You don't have a thick skin. How can you say such arrogant words? Shen Yizi slapped his hand away and sneered, "Really? If you don't like it, why did you kiss me? Are you still a Taoist couple with me? You even dash I want to sleep with her." Xianting kissed her eyes and said gently but cruelly, "Wanting to sleep with you and liking you are two different things, silly girl. Don't resist, or I won't help but hurt you." Shen Yizi felt that the situation in front of her was beyond her understanding. She didn't know whether to be happy or sad for a moment, and her emotions were in a mess. However, just letting him do whatever he wants is impossible, even in his lifetime. With a strong effort, she turned over and pressed him down, looking at him coldly, "I want to be on top." Xianting's eyes became more and more interested, "Okay." Shen Yizi resisted his burning eyes that wanted to devour her, and kissed him hard. When she felt that the time was almost up, she would hide in space as soon as she thought about it. However, the scene in front of her did not change at all, she was still where she was. As soon as he raised his eyes, he met Suanting's playful eyes. He stroked her face gently, "Zhizi, do you think I will give you a chance to escape into space at this time?" At this moment, Shen Yizi's scalp was about to explode. This monster can actually prevent her from entering the space? Then wouldn't she have to be at his mercy from now on? How did you do that? Xianting's red lips spat out a sentence that made her vomit blood, "Sit down and I'll tell you." Seeing that she didn't move, he stood up, "Or do you want me to do it by myself? If I come, I'm afraid you won't be able to bear it." "Shen Yizi, don't challenge my patience anymore, this is what I give you, a final bit of mercy." Shen Yizi looked at him and tears suddenly fell. Xianting suddenly felt irritable and wanted to kill someone, and roughly pulled her over, "Why are you crying?" "Huh. You will cry later." He decided not to endure it any longer, and God knew he was almost bursting with it. However, her tears fell even more fiercely, and soon they wet his neck, and some flowed down and slid over his chest. Xianting wanted to strangle her to death for a moment. Choke this woman who can easily influence him to death. He grabbed her neck in his mouth, viciously, as if he wanted to bite her to death. Asterisk. Whoa whoa dash. The sound of roosters crowing in the village can be heard in the distance. Shen Yizi was wrapped in Xianting's arms, and his whole body became like a loveless salted fish. She felt that the hands were no longer hers. No, not just hands. This night, she had a really chaotic life. Although she used a tear offensive to defend her final innocence, the price she paid was a bit heavy. Her lips were a little numb, definitely swollen. Hands can no longer be closed, and it is estimated that eating will be a problem. As for the other things, it's okay not to mention them. Xianting is a beast. But the man who had been relieved was very satisfied at the moment. He slept soundly holding her, with the corners of his mouth still raised. When he closed his eyes, his sleeping face was pure, innocent, and handsome. Even a little childish. It really makes people feel bad. However, when she thought about the things he did to her last night, she felt itchy with hatred and wanted to bite a hole out of her face. Xianting seemed to be aware of it. He arched his head towards her neck and hid his face. Shen Yizi stared at the ceiling of the tent with blank eyes. Xianting's previous words rang in her ears again. "Why can't you recognize goose-whitting and me? You keep saying that you like goose-whitting, but do you know what you look like when you are in my arms? When you are kissed deeply by me, when you are wrapped around me, when you fall limply in my arms, Zizi, don't deny it, you like me. You like me, like me." Xianting's words were swirling and repeating in her mind like a magic voice. "Ah! Shut up!" Shen Yizi roared in his heart. Finally, the world is clean. Adorable baby, the miracle doctor is so awesome. Author, 955. Chapter 320. Minjaya Villa. Bai Xiaoshu practiced all night, and after incorporating the last ray of spiritual energy into her danshan, she opened her eyes. After practicing here for only one night, her originally stagnant cultivation showed signs of breakthrough. This is truly a paradise. She opened the window, looked at the blooming peach blossoms outside the window, and took a breath of the sweet air. She really wished she could live here forever. After having a delicious breakfast that contained a faint spiritual energy, Bai Xiaoshu planned to take a stroll in the garden. Yesterday, the time was too short, and she didn't even have time to appreciate the scenery here. As a result, the maid handed over a beautifully wrapped gift box. "Miss Bai, this is a gift prepared for you by our owner. You are welcome to come to our villa at any time in the future. This is the tour album of the villa, you can see it. Look. Prepared gifts? Come and play anytime in the future?" Bai Xiaoshu immediately understood the implication of the maid's words. She was giving an order to expel guests. In the box, there is not only a bottle of spirit rejuvenation liquid that Shen Yazi promised before, but also a set of skincare products. She originally said she wanted to buy a set, but now it seems she won't need it. She closed the gift box, picked up the album and flipped through it. It introduces the scenery in the villa with pictures and texts, and also appends a detailed explanation of the tickets at the end. You have to have a ticket to enter the villa, and all kinds of consumption in the villa have to be paid for separately. However, is the price of this ticket too expensive? There are 5 types of tickets, divided according to star rating. The 1-star ticket is 100 taels, and you can stay in the villa for 1 day. 2-star tickets cost 289 taels, and you can stay in the villa for 3 days. 3-star tickets are 459 taels and can stay for 5 days. 4-star tickets cost 888 taels and can stay for 10 days. With full moon tickets, you can enter the villa at any time, with no time limit, and all consumption in the villa will be discounted at 20%. However, this kind of ticket is not sold to the public, but needs to meet one of the following conditions to obtain it. Those who are pure in heart, those who possess merit and virtue, those whose skills are close to the Tao. How to judge whether these conditions are met? Those who are pure and kind-hearted are the same on the outside and the same on the outside. They have never done any evil in their lives, have never committed any murders, and have never had evil thoughts. Their hearts are like glass, unstained by dust. The heavenly mirror hung on the gate of the villa can trace a person's past, judge what is right and wrong, good and evil, and whether one's heart is pure and kind can be revealed by looking in front of the mirror. Those who possess merit are not judged by humans, but by the law of heaven. Whether a person has merit or not is invisible to the naked eye. It is also necessary to use a heavenly mirror. If the body has merit, the figure shown in the mirror will emit a golden light of morality. This is the so-called merit added to the body, which is clear at a glance. The third item needs to be tested in the Taoist pavilion outside the villa. If the Taoist bell rings, it means that the conditions are met. The more Bai Xiaoshu looked down, the colder her heart became. Is she pure of heart? She considers herself not a bad person, but she is definitely not a pure good person either. This is no good. Have meritorious deeds? She didn't know for sure, but it was very likely that she didn't have it. How could merit be so good? It is estimated that only the kind of people who spend their whole life doing good deeds and benefiting the world can gain merit. As for the last one, who is almost Taoist in skills, haha, if you want to say what she is best at, it is nothing more than forming formations. Before coming here, she felt that she was somewhat talented in formations, but after coming here, she knew what it means to be there are people outside the world, and there is heaven outside the world. Her level is not even considered a minor success, let alone nearly qualified. So she doesn't have to think about the full moon ticket. You can only spend money and be a Krypton gold player. Bai Xiaoshu dug around and found that she only had 200 taels of silver left. Where can I buy this ticket? The maid was delighted. I can do it right here. What kind do you want to buy? The owner of the hotel said that for every ticket sold, the maid can get a 1% commission. For example, if she sells a 1-star ticket worth 100 taels, she can get 1 tael of silver. It's equivalent to getting half of your monthly money for free. The maid took out a long and narrow box from the treasure bag, pushed open the lid, and the tickets were neatly placed inside like works of art. The ticket is carved from jade bamboo, 1 finger long and 3 fingers wide, a thin piece, as clear as jade, with a painting carved on it, with the entire Minjaya villa in the background, and a crescent moon hanging in the sky. Decorated with a star, the right side is engraved with Minjaya villa in 4 cartoon round fonts. Is carved according to the font written by Shenyazi. On the back, Tianzhou Lake is used as the background, with lotus flowers blooming and a red koi carp jumping out of the water. The picture is lifelike and full of interest. This koi carp is carved in the image of red brocade. This is a 1-star ticket. The only difference between other 2-star, 3-star and 4-star tickets is the number of stars. The full moon ticket is changed from a crescent moon to a full moon without stars. These exquisite bamboo plagues are all made by the bamboo carving master Li Ke. In addition, the jade bamboo itself is valuable, and the ticket alone is worth a lot of money. Bai Xiaoshu held it in her hand and played with it for a while. With this ticket, except for a few places, you can go to most places in the villa. The maid explained the specific situation to Bai Xiaoshu, and then politely withdrew. Bai Xiaoshu suddenly remembered something and called the maid, "Please help me give this to your owner." She handed the large melon seed she got from Zhao Ziwen to the maid. She didn't figure out what it was or what it was used for, so she simply gave it to Master Shen. After all, if it weren't for her, she wouldn't be able to get it, not to mention that Master Shen also gave her a bottle of spiritual liquid as a gift. Looking at the only 100 taels left in her hand, Bai Xiaoshu felt a little worried. This little money is probably not enough to have a meal in the villa, right? Unexpectedly, she would also have to worry about money one day. But at least I have gained one day, so I have to write a letter back quickly and tell my family about the situation here. The situation of other people in the villa is similar to Bai Xiaoshu. Most of the money I had was wiped out by yesterday's auction. But they hadn't stayed enough at the villa, so they simply came to the pavilion outside the villa to try to see if they could get the full moon tickets. The sage Lu Jingran, the master of chess, Lin Binji, the master of calligraphy and painting, Pei Hao, the poet Xie Fang, the jade carver Wen Daoming and others all came here. If every circle is a pyramid, then they are the people standing at the top of the tower. So they still have some confidence in getting the full moon tickets. Only one person can enter the pavilion at a time, so who should come first? While everyone was modestly declining, Xie Fang came out. "Since everyone is afraid of taking the lead, let me first experience the power of this bell." Why is everyone afraid of taking the lead? Xie Fang's words can be said to have offended most of the people. But everyone also knows that he has a straightforward personality, and they don't really care about him.